Everything was black. No sound, no air, just a crushing, suffocating nothingness. Isla fought against it, kicking, screaming, but there was no sensation, no feeling of movement. Just when she thought she would dissolve into nothingness forever, a faint, tinny voice pierced the dark. Wake up! Her eyes snapped open. She was back, or she thought she was. She was lying on the kitchen floor, the cracked camera a few feet away. Sunlight streamed through the windows. Birdsong chirped outside. The house looked normal, as if the horrors she had witnessed were nothing but a dream. She sat up, every muscle aching. "What the hell just happened?" she muttered. Picking up her camera, she staggered to her feet. Had she imagined it all? Maybe the house hadn't been haunted after all. Maybe she had hit her head and hallucinated everything. She laughed weakly, but then she noticed the kitchen clock. The hands spun wildly, blurring into a silver whirl. The sunlight dimmed, shadows deepened unnaturally fast. The smell of rot returned, stronger than ever. And Isla realized she wasn't back. She was deeper. The house was playing with her. Panicking, she ran toward the front door. The wood was covered in dozens of handprints, bloody, desperate. Some small, like a child's, some grotesquely large. She grabbed the handle, pulled. The door wouldn't budge. From behind her, the house began to hum. A low, throaty vibration that made her teeth chatter. Turning around, she saw the walls breathe in and out, like the house itself was alive. The floor beneath her feet rippled like water. She stumbled backward, disoriented. A voice, deep and resonant, filled the space. "You are home now." Rooms changed without warning. Corridors twisted on themselves. She ran down a hallway that shrank until she had to crouch, then crawl. The walls were wet, pulsing like veins. Portraits on the walls screamed silently as she passed. Finally, she burst into a grand ballroom she hadn't seen before. Chandeliers swung wildly overhead as if in a storm. The marble floor was cracked and stained dark. At the far end of the room stood a mirror, massive, reaching nearly to the ceiling. And in the mirror, Isla saw herself, but older. Her hair was white, her eyes hollow, her mouth stitched shut, like the woman in the basement. "No!" She staggered back, but the reflection didn't move. Instead, it smiled, a terrible, stitched smile. The glass rippled. A hand, her hand, reached through, beckoning. Isla turned to run, but collided with something solid. Standing before her was Abigail, the little girl. Tears streamed down her face. "You have to free us," she whispered, voice cracking, "before you become one of them." The ballroom dissolved into mist. Images flickered around Isla like a movie reel. A happy McPherson family, laughing, dining. Charles McPherson discovering an ancient grimoire in the cellar. Rituals, blood offerings, summoning protection for the family name. The magic backfiring, trapping their souls in the house, feeding the home with their spirits for eternity. And now, the house needed new blood to stay alive. New roles to fill, new victims. Isla fell to her knees, gasping. The house had tricked dozens, maybe hundreds, before her. Every portrait, every whisper, souls who had tried to leave, just like her, now imprisoned forever. If she didn't find a way out soon, she would become the new sister forever. The ballroom shattered like glass. Isla tumbled through blackness and landed in what appeared to be a child's nursery. Toys littered the floor. A mobile turned lazily overhead. Music played from a broken music box. "Hush, little baby. Don't say a word." The walls were covered in childish drawings, stick figures of a family, mother, father, son, daughter, and now, a new figure scribbled in messy crayon, Isla. The drawing version of her was crying. A door at the far end of the nursery beckoned, but standing in front of it was Mother McPherson, Eliza. Her sewn mouth had torn open, revealing rows of jagged teeth. She hissed a soundless scream and lunged. Isla grabbed the nearest object, a toy bat, and swung. It passed through Eliza like mist. The ghost shrieked, and the toys in the room levitated, hurling themselves at Isla. She ducked, weaving toward the door. A toy soldier sliced her leg with a sharpened bayonet. She stumbled but made it to the door. Through it was another corridor. But this time, Isla wasn't running. She had a plan. Abigail's words echoed in her mind. "You have to free us." If she could find the grimoire, the ancient book Charles had used, maybe she could undo the curse. Maybe she could escape and set all the trapped souls free. She limped down the endless hallway, deeper into the belly of the beast. The walls whispered temptations. Stay. Be one of us. It doesn't hurt after the first 100 years. Isla ignored them. For the first time, she wasn't afraid. She was angry. She found herself back at the grand staircase. And at the top, waiting for her, stood Charles McPherson, or what was left of him. His body was twisted, wrong. His head lolled to the side like it was half severed. His arms elongated unnaturally. In his hands, he held the grimoire. A smirk spread across his disfigured face. He croaked, "You want this? Earn it." The final confrontation had begun. The grand staircase creaked under Isla's trembling footsteps as she climbed toward Charles McPherson. The grimoire pulsed in his skeletal hands, black smoke leaking from its pages. He watched her ascend, a grotesque smile pulling at the stitched remnants of his mouth. "You've come far," he rasped, voice like tearing cloth. "But this is where it ends." Isla's heart hammered in her chest. Her leg throbbed from the toy soldier's slash, blood soaking her jeans. Yet she pressed on. She could feel everyone watching her, the trapped souls, the house itself, holding its breath. At the landing, Charles raised the grimoire high above his head. The chandeliers exploded in showers of sparks. A cyclone of spirits spiraled around them, faces twisted in agony. Isla screamed as icy hands grabbed at her clothes, her hair, her skin. Charles chanted in an ancient tongue, words so foul they made the air shimmer and curdle. The house shook violently. Walls cracked, portraits burst into flames, floorboards split open, revealing a churning, black abyss below. Isla knew. If she didn't act now, the house would devour her, and countless others with it. Suddenly, Isla remembered something from her grandmother's journals, a ritual, a counter-curse, not to destroy the house, but to sacrifice herself in place of the trapped souls, to become the new anchor, freeing everyone else. "No," she whispered, tears welling in her eyes. "There has to be another way." But deep down, she knew there wasn't. This was why the house had lured her here, not to imprison her, but to trick her into willingly offering herself. A cruel, ancient pact. Charles lunged at her, the grimoire flaring with power. But Isla ducked beneath his swing and slammed into him with everything she had. The grimoire flew from his hands, skidding across the landing. She dove for it, snatching it up. The moment her fingers touched the leather, the spirits around her shrieked. The grimoire opened by itself to a page inked in red. To give life is to take death. To free the lost is to chain thyself. The words burned into her mind. The choice. She could close the book, run, leave them all to suffer, or she could stay, become the house's prisoner, but set hundreds, maybe thousands, free. Isla's hands trembled. She thought of Abigail, the little boy crying by the window, the screaming portraits, all the lost, forgotten souls. She thought of her grandmother, who had escaped but had carried the guilt all her life. Number it would end here. I choose them, Isla whispered. And with that, she began chanting the counter-ritual. The house howled in protest. The walls bled, the floor cracked wide open. The wind roared so violently that Isla could barely stand. Charles screeched, rushing toward her. But invisible hands, the freed spirits, grabbed him, dragging him back, tearing at him with savage joy. The grimoire glowed blinding white. Each word Isla spoke felt like a nail driven into her own coffin. Her body burned, her mind fractured, but she kept going. Tears streamed down her face. The transition. As Isla spoke the final word, the cyclone of spirits exploded outward in a flash of searing light. The house shuddered one last time and fell silent. She collapsed to her knees. Around her, the air grew still. The front door, the real front door, stood open at the bottom of the stairs. Outside was the dawn. Freedom. She could leave, but she couldn't move. Already the house's tendrils wrapped around her, binding her soul to its walls. The last thing she saw before darkness took her was the spirits stepping into the sunlight, faces lifted in gratitude. Epilogue. The McPherson Estate stands silent once more, but the portraits in the halls have changed. No more screaming faces. Just one, Isla's portrait, her eyes haunted, her mouth a stitched, painful smile, waiting for the next curious soul to step inside.